Welcome to Season 3 of The Good Pod. Today's podcast is presented by Dr. Barry Napier.
Very often I send off almost random materials on health, etc. This time I want to tackle complementary treatments. There are a whole host of them, and I've even seen them in hospitals, so it is an important topic to talk about. Now then, we have all at one time or another been urged to use a complementary medicine or treatment, with the assurance that they are good, natural, and also compatible with Christian belief. But is this true? Let's look at the subject broadly. I once had an horrendous skin complaint, well, it was to me anyway, where my skin was very red, drying in white scales on the face. Apart from anything else, it was very embarrassing. It was very itchy, very dry, and very red, hot. And even if I cleaned it all off, the scales came back again within a minute or so. I still don't know what it is to this day. Now I don't have it, thank goodness. Now, hot rooms were my nemesis, and even when on professional courses, I would be compelled to get out as quickly as possible. Apart from feeling embarrassed, my skin was feeling so bad I had to try and wash it. The usual treatment is a dermatological cream, but it thins out the skin, which can lead to infections. So in desperation, I went to see a doctor in another area who practiced homeopathy. Now that was way back in 1981, before I knew anything about it. I should have realised what was not right about it, because I finally found the village that he practiced in. Remember, he was a medical doctor. I went into his office, and for some reason he sat me on a chair and he sat on the floor. He asked me a variety of questions that I couldn't quite connect, and then gave me some tablets for a month, that is homeopathic tablets, and a vitamin E injections. The results were remarkable. My skin remained perfect for about 2 months. But then the problem came back again. Now for me it was a psychological success and not due to homeopathy. And I still say that. I think it was perhaps the strong vitamin E injection. Unfortunately, I knew nothing of homeopathy until I researched it after the visit. Frankly, none of it made any sense whatever. It is impossible, as far as I'm concerned, to dilute something to nothing and yet expect it to do anything realistic. Therefore, I consigned it to the trash can of life. Now, I know that a lot of people believe in homeopathy. They say it works. Frankly, I think it's more of a psychological success, as it was with me. So, how should we view alternative therapies or medicines? In my view, we must always be cautious about anything in the alternative stable, and many things we must instantly dismiss. In this very brief paper, I can only give a bare outline of examples, because the list is almost endless. And I have a list in front of me now, about 20 different complementary treatments such as aromatherapy, acupuncture, bioenergy, homeopathy, naturopathy, Reiki, angel therapy, whatever that is, the Alexander technique, psychotherapy, shiatsu, Hopi, ear candles, hypnotherapy. Oh, there's so many. And the one that I came across the last time that I was nursing was therapeutic touch. I was in a post qualification diploma course, and the lecturer said, would we like to sit in to see a therapeutic touch session, which he took. And I sat from beginning to end. He asked all of us in the room, about 20 of us, qualified nurses, to take part. I'm the only one who said I wouldn't, but I would observe. And so I wrote down everything that happened. It was ridiculous because he didn't even touch the person who was his scapegoat, as far as I'm concerned. His hands just were a few inches away from the body, and as if he was washing off something from the body. And there's no way it can make any sense. The only way it can make sense is as a demonic activity. But that's my view. Anyway, in my professional past, I actually practiced psychotherapy, relaxation techniques, and I even looked into biofeedback. I quickly rejected and stopped them all, but must admit they have very limited application. Psychotherapy is just one way to manipulate minds. So, as I say, I no longer practice these things because I know that you can manipulate the mind very easily. Now, let me issue a basic warning. What can we expect? Basically, anything that is not connected to or created by a cult or the occult in any form, we mustn't accept. One such example is transcendental meditation, or TM, and yoga, which were created by the occult Hinduism. Yoga is not just an exercise regime. Every bit of it is occult. And they're starting to teach that to young children now. But remember that every movement, every position in yoga is a prayer to a Hindu god. That's what it's all about. So, warned about that. Another example is, say, use of various plants to cure a variety of aches and pains. However, even though they're natural, they don't always work in every case. So why bother? And it's possible that some of these folk remedies may at some time have originated with the occult. We must be very careful. Also, they might be dangerous for some. So check with a doctor or pharmacist first. Generally, herbals are more acceptable, but we must not think that because they are natural, they must automatically be safe. That is to misunderstand what happens in the body. What must we reject? Anything that was created originally by a cult or the occult. It doesn't matter if these therapies actually work, because there is immense spiritual harm in allowing demons or cults to apply themselves to you. They are often a gateway to occultism itself. The fact that they might work is not relevant. Sadly, those who have chronic conditions or cancers might feel panic and so search for anything that might help. For Christians, this is not acceptable, even if they have a fatal disease. And I must admit, I tried many supposed treatments for my wife, whose condition was severe. We can all be caught by extravagant claims. We cannot use any system of healing if it was created by demonic influences, such as Buddhism, Hinduism, spiritualism, and so on. Western psychics, sometimes called healers, also use occult means, and these too must be rejected. Frankly, it is better to suffer pain than to be taken over by demons. Demons cannot possess a Christian, but the Christian can suffer a multitude of evils if he allows the therapy to be used. Depression, anxiety, even poverty and suicide have been listed as side effects. And watch out for these alternative therapies in hospitals. One used widely is one that I've already mentioned, that's therapeutic touch. I have a full article on this if you go to my website. An odd name for it because there's no touching. It has no medical or scientific truth behind it whatever, so it's a very odd therapy to allow into an environment that prides itself on proof of efficacy and scientific sources. And by the way, this happens, they allow this kind of therapeutic touch in hospitals even though it is obvious nonsense, but yet they'll kick somebody out for praying. As a Christian, there's something wrong. For those who might say it's easy for you, wait until you have suffered. Let me tell you, I had crippling abdominal pain throughout most of my childhood. I've almost been killed several times by maniacs. I suffered a now healed fatal illness in 1978, and from that time I suffered immense pain and overwhelming fatigue for 18 years. That was healed in 1996. I still have painful ankles and feet that sometimes collapse. I have diabetes and long-standing problems, neuropathy and more, so don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. The skin problem I mentioned was just an added bonus, and I unwittingly fell to the lie of homeopathy. I know about pain and many awful symptoms, and some Christians have even worse symptoms than me. It is a basic fact. Before we use any remedy, we must, as a matter of Christian conscience, safety and God's honour, research it. If it was begun by demons via the occult, reject it immediately, no matter what claims are made for it. The fact that there are supposed cures is not a factor. Always look at how they began. Note: in view of the horrendous movements that sprang out of the iniquitous Toronto blessing, Christians should be cautious of anything called good or of God, claimed by those in error or who practice complementary medicines and approaches. Test the spirits before considering their use. Some therapies are acceptable, such as some herbals and certain physical treatments, but be very careful. Now, as for supplements, these range from silly to excellent. People tend to take supplements they don't actually need. Now, in my own case, because of the COVID situation, I have been taking vitamin D3 and a few other things to complement it, because these actually build up your resistance to viruses. But in many other cases, people just take things they're told about and they don't research them. So, sometimes these things can be dangerous. As an example of useless supplements, we have multivitamins. You might think, what's wrong with multivitamins? Well, if you don't need them, then they're in excess. An excess of some vitamins will make you ill. So, if you eat a normal diet, you don't need multivitamins at all. If you have a balanced diet, you don't need them. Some take specific vitamins and metals, but beware, because they can do harm to your body. Always research. Then there's iron. How many women just go to a pharmacy or even over the counter and get iron tablets or supplements? Never ever do that, because there are specific iron supplements that only a doctor can give you. Otherwise, you can end up in a lot of trouble. Too much iron can cause a collapse simply because it's not needed. There are different kinds of iron. You need a medical assessment to discover which one to use. And talking about iron, if you take a liquid iron, ask the doctor to also prescribe suitable vitamins. Otherwise, the iron turns your teeth black. Even the seemingly harmless paracetamol can kill you if you take too many. Shorten the interval between doses, or add more paracetamol by taking other remedies at the same time that contain paracetamol. In essence, you're doubling up on the dose. An aspirin can cause serious stomach bleeding, so again, check out with a medical doctor first. Be careful, watch out for occult or cult origins. Take note of any claimed research. A lot of it is deceptive and fake. Supplements are relatively innocent, but you need to be assessed even though they don't harm your soul. And over-the-counter remedies can hold their own dangers, often contradicting medicines prescribed by a doctor. It's a tough old world, isn't it?